Whenever I road test a utility or a van, there's always a friend who has something they need to move, be it a lounge or a fridge. I recently went on the launch of the Hino 300 truck 4x4 and found that not only was someone who needed to move a little bit, but rather that my son, by pure chance, had just collected the keys for his new home. This proved to be the perfect vehicle, but it is a rough and tough four-wheel drive. It is aimed at the firefighters out in the bush and the mining industry. So perhaps it would also do if my son ever does a tree change and moves to the country. But it is a good truck. It does sit high. You'll notice there's plenty of clearance here, and getting into it there are plenty of handles and steps to be able to do it. Not something you can do very elegantly, but nonetheless easier than you might expect. One thing you do note too, that if you go into four-wheel drive you press a button inside, but you've got to get out and do the manual hubs. Brings back a few memories. Some practical things about it too. You can open this and step up to it. On the other side is a more elegant ladder that can come down. You'll note there's two fuel tanks and plenty of capacity, 170 litres, and plenty of clearance. If you look at another 300 over here, the more traditional one, you'll note there's much less clearance, and of course there's much more road tyre as part of it. But this one is clearly got a market it's aimed for, and it does it well. Let's see how it drives. While the Hino 300 is classed as a light-duty 4x4 truck, it's certainly not a soft roader. It went through extensive testing in Australian conditions to ensure that it is well suited to our environment. Hino Australia had a prototype truck for 3 years and did over 40,000 kilometres as a work vehicle for the Cook Shire Council in Far North Queensland. Cook Shire covers from Cooktown to the Jardine River in Cape York and has over 1,600 kilometres of unsealed road in their area. The 4-litre diesel engine develops 121 kilowatts at 2,500 revs per minute and 464 newton metres of torque starting at 1,400 revs per minute. The engine will go to a maximum of 3,100 RPM, although with its new 6-speed gearbox it only needs just under 2,500 to sit on 100 kilometres an hour. The main fuel tank has 100 litres capacity, while the auxiliary fuel tank just behind it can hold an additional 70 litres of fuel. The vehicle comes with both single and crew cab configurations, and the good thing about the crew cab is that it has good air conditioning for the passengers in the second row.
The thing I particularly like about the Hino 300 4x4 is its attention to safety. It has airbags, as you would expect, but it is the only truck in its class, I believe, that has all-wheel disc brakes. It has a reversing camera, which has a nice feature too of having a microphone in it as well, so that if you're in a tight area and someone calls out from the back of the car, you're unlikely to hear it in the cabin, but if you're reversing, of course, you can hear it through the system. The other thing it has is vehicle stability control, which is standard on all the 300 models. It's really important, I believe, particularly for vehicles that are varying the load in which they carry, and so the dynamics of the truck can vary enormously. And we know that trucks can be overrepresented in crashes, even if it's not always the fault of the truck driver. But the point about it is that even if you have to take defensive action, you want to be able to have a vehicle that can help you in the road safety sense as much as possible. And this, with vehicle stability control, I think is very important. Not the least of which is that heavy vehicles in general are overrepresented in rollover crashes. We sit up high, we have a lot of weight in the vehicle, and this 300 4x4 certainly has good ground clearance, as it is intended to be used in those more rougher situations, or certainly intended to have that capability. So having a stability control is really a very, very important part of giving you much more confidence and ability for the vehicle to help you out in tough situations.
Along with the vehicle stability control, every Hino 300 has anti-lock brakes, traction control and an exhaust brake.
The difference in how a truck like this handles, depending on the load, is shown in a number of ways. But it's also particularly shown in terms of the ride comfort. Here we are travelling without a load and it feels most bumps. The natural enemy for the driver is expansion joints in roads. I drove it down an old concrete road which had expansion joints and a number of cracks and differential settlement, and I've got to say it was rather a jarring drive. With a load in it, it felt much better. Now this does have a suspension type seat, actually uses magnetic forces to try and cushion the blow. I have it adjusted with as much movement as possible. I don't actually feel the movement in the seat, but I feel much less of the jar through the vehicle. And I think it's a very good system, and one that I would recommend particularly if you're going to be out on the rougher, more corrugated or the more bumpy type of roads.
So in summary, the Hino 300 4x4 is one tough truck that has very strong off-road capabilities that have been tested and proven in the Australian outback. It is well suited for its market, particularly the mining industry and the firefighting professions. It is practical, and with an enhanced engine and 6-speed gearbox, it has improved its efficiency. It can be tiring to drive, however the magnetically sprung driver's seat helps reduce the impact of the bumps for the driver. Its attention to safety is class-leading, with electronic stability control and a reversing camera with the addition of a microphone to pick up sound warnings as well. It will provide practical support to a wide range of business and community services.